Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to take a short call on behalf of the Green Party on the Taxation, Annual Rates, Employee Allowances and Remedial Matters Bill. I will speak about two things in this bill that we have grave concerns about and are the primary reasons for which we will not be supporting this bill. But I have to start by correcting one of the previous speakers, National Party member Simon O'Connor, when he said earlier that the Green Party was proposing a green bank that would involve subsidies to clean tech and green tech. I think Mr. O'Connor is unclear on our actual policy, because the Green Investment Bank, which the Green Party proposed, which of course is operating, similar sorts of banks are operating in many other jurisdictions successfully, would be entirely on commercial terms. It would be a for-profit bank that would also help sustainable businesses to have access to capital by filling a niche in that area lack. So I think Mr. O'Connor was mistaken. And of course, that's the sort of smart green idea that we need, unlike what's happening in this bill, which is the government, the national government, extending tax breaks for oil companies to come here and explore for oil. And of course, in 2014, that's the last thing that we should be giving companies tax breaks for, because the world simply cannot afford to burn all of the fossil fuel reserves that oil companies already have on their books. So we've got more coal and more oil that's already been found than we can afford to burn and still have a stable climate. So it seems strange that the government would be encouraging and facilitating more fossil fuel exploration in New Zealand, when in fact it's exactly the right time to be incentivizing smart green technology, which is going to enable our children and grandchildren to be prosperous for many decades to come. But the other concern we have with this bill, of course, is the provision around FATCA. So that's the Foreign Account Information Sharing Agreements. As a U.S. citizen myself, I'm a dual citizen. There are about 70,000 New Zealanders who have U.S. citizenship. And we're in a very strange situation where the United States is one of the only countries in the world to tax on the basis of citizenship rather than on the basis of residency. So New Zealand citizens who live overseas don't have a requirement to file taxes here in New Zealand, but United States citizens, even people who were born in the United States and never lived there their entire lives but happen to hold citizenship, may not be aware that they have this legal requirement. And so what the United States is doing is that they're exercising their economic power and acting unilaterally and going out and forcing other countries to comply with new laws that they have around disclosure of foreign bank accounts. And the Green Party is very much in favor of global moves to ensure transparency and exchange of information for the purposes of tax. We want to see a crackdown on tax avoidance globally. That's a good thing. But unfortunately, what's happening here is that the United States is acting on its own, and it's going out and forcing other countries to comply with its laws. And it's not really being a team player. I mean, the OECD has this global forum, which we've been party to, New Zealand, and 121 other countries. And that, it seems to us, the appropriate way to go about information sharing, because all countries are cooperating together rather than just the United States forcing New Zealand and many other countries to provide information on people living in New Zealand who legally own bank accounts. And it's interesting also that I note that one of the members who spoke previously, Mr. O'Connor, had said something like all tax legislation is reducing compliance costs and increasing efficiency. In this particular case, I'm pretty sure it's going to be increasing compliance costs, because our Internal Revenue Department is going to have to suddenly collect all this additional information on whether or not citizens or residents of New Zealand are citizens of the United States, and all of the banks here in New Zealand are going to have to do the same. So if anything, I think this is going to increase some compliance costs. And so we do have some concerns about privacy, the privacy of New Zealand's residents and citizens who are living here, having their information shared with the United States IRS, and the fact that this isn't really an agreement where we can be certain that New Zealand is getting anything in return for complying with the United States simply going around wielding its weight. But that seems pretty typical of this national government. The U.S. says jump, and John Key says how high.
Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Happy to take a call on